to start off, Ilayda, you graduated last year, and now you're already running a company. So what drew you to mechanical engineering in the first place? I'm curious about, and what fascinates you most about this specific
Yeah,
area?
it's an interesting story for sure because growing up, I was always interested in science and math. So I guess I kind of knew I was going to do engineering, but I wasn't really sure what kind because it's such a broad area. You could be like working with computers, you could be working with devices or basically anything. So it was a difficult decision, but I was always also interested in physics, and I've been doing some research work on physics in high school. So I knew I wanted to do something where I could feel it, like a tangible work. And it felt like if I was coding, it would be more like computer work than it would be actually making things, designing things. So that's kind of why I ended up in mechanical engineering.
Cool. And now with organic robotics, you developed this fiber optics technology that is all about touch, right? So, and I read
Uh-huh.
that this technology was usually applied to infrastructure and buildings and construction and all of that, and then you applied it to biomedical robotics. So, can you explain maybe the beginnings of how this was developed first in the lab and how it then led to light lace?
Yeah. So our technology has been a lab technology for like 4 or 5 years. And both my co-founder, Professor Rob Shepard, as well as his PhD students have been working on this for a long time, exploring what we can make of these sensors, where we can use them, what can they do better than what other sensors can. And basically the main difference in our sensors compared to the other sensors out there are that they're stretchable and they're based on light. And that's why we actually call it light lace. So instead of using wires or electronics, we use the power of light. So we shine light on these sensors and we look at the intensity change, which gives us a lot of information, whether it's on the pressure, the motion, or the stretching. The idea is that because we have so many different applications we can use our sensors in, we can measure touch everywhere. So it could be touch on your body, it could be touch for a robot, it could be touch when when you're sitting on a car seat. So or it could be the touch feeling in a VR, AR environment. Even right now, we're talking on Zoom where we see each other, but we're missing the feeling of touch. But if we had a light lace integrated, let's say, garment, we could at least see what that touch looks like.
Can you dig a bit deeper into maybe in layman's terms how this technology works? Because if you say that you use light instead of other things, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good, but I don't actually know what that
Yeah,
means. So
yeah, that
can you
makes sense.
try to explain that? Yeah.
So imagine you have these thin fiber around 1 millimeter in diameter, stretchable, comfortable, just one strand of fiber. What we do is we take this fiber, we put light source, so it could be an LED, it could be a laser, but some sort of light at one end of this fiber. And we put a component that helps us measure the intensity of the light on the other. So light travels from one end of the fiber to the other end of the fiber. And when you stretch it, the intensity of light decreases because the diameter of the fiber, it becomes thinner. So there's a change in intensity. Or if you press on it, there's some light loss when you press on the fiber. So basically in the simplest terms, what we look at is how the light is changing after it travels on the fiber.
We are facing arguably a crisis of
Yeah.
loneliness, right? A physical touch for sure, in the future of being distant, at least physically. So how wild could we go there with our imaginations? Especially, I'm interested in with like soft robots, right, or robots who can
Mhm.
touch.
I think one thing really interesting with robots, especially in during this time, is the virus puts doctors and medical personnel to a lot of risk when they're trying to take care of sick patients. And then they could be replaced by robots in these cases, but the robots can't really tell between a human, between like a box because they can't feel touch. So what we could do is, let's say these nurse robots or doctor robots could have some sort of sleeves that they wear on their hands or like gloves, and that would give them a sense of touch. So then they could go take care of the patient. But another thing is, on the health side of things, without robots, is that telemedicine is becoming more and more common due to the same reasons. A lot of people are scared of going to the hospital because they don't want to catch an illness or a disease, especially during COVID-19. And especially for physical therapy, the doctor should be able to monitor your muscles and your motions to be able to make sure you're going through the rehab process correctly. So if a human was wearing our light lace garments, so garments that have light lace running around it, they could just do these motions on Zoom, and the doctor will be able to see exactly how their muscles are reacting and exactly how the patient is moving. So those are the main things, and they're pretty pandemic related, but obviously we're hoping this is not going to be forever.
Absolutely. And you are in the process of commercializing light lace. So can you talk a bit about, well, how expensive that technology is and sort of what your plans are in terms of distributing it globally or more broadly into different fields?
Yeah, so the good thing is, and the reason we wanted to commercialize light lace is it's really cheap for us to manufacture it. So being at a really early stage, I can't really give a specific number on the costs because we're not mass producing it yet. But even at a prototyping stage, it costs us so little that we know we can get it to be really cheap and affordable by everyone. And kind of where we're at, we're prototyping, we're trying to work on the garments for motion tracking and muscle activity and injury prevention first. And after we gain some traction commercializing the garments, we want to move into a place where we can globally sell these sensors to front runners in different fields so that they can use it in their own applications.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're definitely excited to follow your journey and to see where this leads going forward.
Thank you. Everyone can check us out on our website or reach out to me through my email, which is also on the website. But we're really excited to take our company and Light Lace to the next step.